Hey y'all, welcome and welcome back. So as you would have seen by the title of the video, it's going to be a little bit of a different one today, something a bit more unique for the channel. And we're going to be talking about the fact that I made a doll buying rubric. So this was actually a suggestion from one of you guys. I believe it was on the video where I talked about not being sure if I wanted to collect Disney anymore. One of y'all suggested that I could make like a little rubric with different categories that would like have different scores for them, so I could try to more logically work out if I wanted a doll. And I thought that was really fun and interesting idea, so I did it. I will have on screen like a picture of it for you guys as I'm talking about it. I'm not going to make you like try to read this, especially with the glare, because I did like do a silly little at-home job of laminating it. You'll understand why as we go through. But yeah, I just thought it would be an interesting thing to do this month, especially since I am doing a no-buy for January to try to like cleanse my mind of some of the FOMO that can come along with doll collecting. And I'm kind of always trying to do little things here and there, like my Dolls I Don't Want series, to be a little bit more of a conscious consumer when it comes to doll collecting. So I thought this would be a great time to go ahead and make a doll rubric. I am going to pop it into a Google Doc, so you guys can use this as well if you want to. You're obviously free to also change it up and like edit things if this doesn't really fit how you buy dolls. So yeah, that's going to be like a fun little resource that you guys can have if you want it. I don't know if anybody else would do this. Like maybe I'm the only one who's like, yeah, I would use this. But hey, just in case, it can't hurt, right? So yeah, I made a rubric. Basically, I have 5 categories, and in each of those categories, I can score 0 to 5 points. And the categories were really, really hard to come up with, just because I think everyone likes different things when it comes to dolls. And that's why I said, like, obviously feel free to edit the rubric or just create your own, like completely from scratch if you feel like that's the best way, because maybe some of my categories don't really make sense for you. But the categories that I went with are the emotion the doll evokes in me, how much I feel like I need to customize the doll, the overall quality, the number of pieces that I like, and the uniqueness. So I'm going to go through each one and like explain my categories. I don't know, I thought this was like an interesting exercise to do. I think it's going to be a fun tool for me in the future, and I'm really excited to go over it with you guys. I hope this is like interesting for y'all. We're going to find out, I suppose. Let me know what you think of this in the comments down below. But we're just going to jump right in. So first category is emotion. For a score of 5, I need to be so excited that I could cry. I am a crier, so like that's not unreasonable for me. I'll cry over many things. So I feel like a top score is one that like I feel like I could cry. If I get a 4, I'd be like obsessed with the doll, thrilled with it, but I'm not going to cry about it. A score of 3 would be me being very excited for it. A score of 2 is like an average emotional response, which is something that is going to look different for different people, obviously. But for me, it's kind of like, yeah, I'm excited, but like, I'm not really necessarily thinking about the doll a lot. Like, it's not something that I'm actively going out and searching for. I'm just kind of like, yeah, if I happen to see it, I'm excited to pick that up. A score of 1 would be a slight emotional reaction where it's like, yeah, that's cool. And then a 0 would obviously be no significant emotion. And then my second category is the need to customize. This one I do understand is like not something that everyone would want in their rubric, I guess you could say, just because not everyone wants to customize their dolls, but I do like to customize on occasion. And so I felt like this would be a good category just for me. So a score of 5 on this is that the doll is perfect as is. I'm buying it to open it up and like immediately put on my shelf. I don't want to change anything about the doll. A score of 4 would be me feeling like it needs a little bit of tweaking. Maybe I would want to redress the doll or redo like the hairstyle. It's not anything serious, like it's a super gentle customization, and honestly maybe customization isn't even the right word for that, but like just a little bit of adjustment. A score of 3 would be making some minor adjustments, such as painting accessories or like details on shoes. So with like some of the Monster High dolls that are coming out for G3, they don't always have the most detail in their accessories. Like sometimes the accessories don't come painted. So I would give the doll a score of a 3 in this category if I felt like I needed to paint some of those accessories to really feel enjoyment from the doll. A score of 2 would be significant work needed. For me, that would look like if I love the outfit and love the face of the doll, but the hair I just really hate, so I want to reroute the doll. Or maybe I like everything, but I think the face is a bit weird, so I want to repaint it. That's something that's like going to take a significant amount of time and effort to get the doll looking how I want. So that would be a score of 2. A score of 1 for the need to customize category is that I'm buying the doll as a base for a customization. Like I don't really plan on using many or even any of the pieces that the doll comes with. I just want to like have the base doll to customize, but I do have a plan in mind. So something like, I'm gonna forget her name now. Faery Skies. I think that was it from the last series of Shadow High. I really like her as a base. Like, I'm very excited to customize her whenever I have time and energy and all of those things. And I have a concrete plan for what I want to do with her, but I would give her a score of 1 because I would have been buying her as a base if she hadn't been gifted. Thank you again to the person who bought her for me. And then a 0 on the need to customize scale would be buying the doll as a base for customization, but I don't have a plan in mind. It's like, I think the doll has a pretty base and I feel like it could be interesting in the future, but I'm really just buying it like in case I have an idea. It's not like I have one at the ready, so I feel like that would be a score of 0. I think that's a fair thing to say. Like, if you're buying a doll, not that you can't, but like for me, if I'm buying a doll and I'm like, oh, I'm going to customize this someday when I come up with an idea, I don't feel like I can score it super highly on the rubric in that case. So that's the need to customize category. Okay, third category is quality, which I feel like is something that probably most people are going to have some sort of feeling about when they are buying a doll. And this one is difficult just because it is, again, something that I feel like is so personal to people in terms of what they consider quality. Like, some people who maybe mainly collect like higher end dolls, like Integrity Toys dolls, are gonna have a much higher threshold for what they believe to be quality than like someone who mainly collects Barbies or even like Monster High or something like that. So it's subjective, but for me, a score of 5 in quality would be it has good quality clothing, full articulation, and a good hair fiber. So like, not polypropylene hair. I personally would say that like my threshold for good quality clothing is about the Gen 3 Monster High standard. They're not the best quality clothes in the world, but I would still consider that quality because it's not like there's not layers, you know? It's not like Barbie with like fake printed on layers of clothing where it's like not actually 2 pieces, it's just printed. Like, that's low quality to me. I'm okay with the Gen 3 level of Monster High quality. So that's kind of what I would have in mind. Again, obviously some people aren't going to feel that way, but that's just for me. And then full articulation, for me, that's gonna be the knees, hips, shoulders, wrists, and then elbows, and then the neck honestly is like slightly less important to me, but I would love to have that as well. Some people who, like, maybe if you are mainly a Barbie collector, maybe you're okay if there like isn't the wrist articulation or something like that. So again, very subjective, but that is what a 5 is for me. A score of 4 in the quality category would be 2 out of those 3 things are good quality. A score of 3 would be 1 out of I can't talk. A score of 3 would be 1 out of those 3 things being good quality. Then a score of 2 would be that nothing has standout quality, but it isn't outright bad. So something, I'm trying to think of like a good example for a doll. Honestly, I guess you could argue that maybe the Rainbow High reboot would fit into that category where like there is the removed wrist articulation, but there is still more articulation on those dolls than some other dolls that are currently available. I'm not sure about how the clothing quality is because I still haven't opened my Amaya yet. I think the hair is still going to be fine. So like, it's not necessarily the highest quality, like super crazy, but it isn't bad. A score of 1 would be that there are some low quality elements. So maybe, for example, it's a doll that comes with good articulation and nice hair, but the clothing is like papery and disgusting. That would be a score of 1 because it's actively low quality. It's not just like, well, this isn't great, but it's okay. It's like, that dress has to go. It literally is paper. And then a score of 0 would just be bad quality overall, low articulation, like bad quality fabrics, just everything is pretty bad. And then I have my next category is the number of pieces I like, just because I feel like, you know, when you buy a doll that does come with multiple clothing pieces or even some accessories or something, it's not often for me personally that I end up liking every single piece that a doll comes with. And so a lot of the time I find myself weighing that in my head where I'm thinking, okay, do I want to pay full price for this doll if I like only half of what she comes with, or if I only like, you know, a couple of pieces, but I feel very strongly about them, is that worth it? So I felt like this was a good one for me. Obviously, again, like this is my rubric. This is very catered to how I think and how I purchase, but it's like a fun little insight, right, into what goes on in my head. So a score of 5 for number of pieces I like is me liking every single piece, which, like I said, does not happen often with dolls. Normally there's at least 1 or 2 that I'm just not a super big fan of or I don't care about. That would be a score of 4 is when I like all but a couple small pieces. A score of 3 would be anytime I like more than half of the pieces a doll comes with. And when I say pieces, I do mean like the doll itself, plus all of the clothing, plus any of the accessories. A score of 2, would I like exactly half of the pieces. A score of 1 would be I only like a few pieces. So for example, maybe I don't really love the base doll, but they have like a 3-piece outfit and I think all of those pieces are really, really fun. And then a score of 0 would be buying the doll as a base, like I kind of alluded to earlier in the need to customize category, or I'm buying it for one piece in particular. This is not something that I do very often. I definitely buy dolls as bases for future customizations much more often than I buy dolls for like one piece of clothing, but sometimes there's a doll that I look at and I'm just so zeroed in on one piece of clothing of theirs. Like the Pretty in Punk, I think it was Megan who had like the yellow coat. That yellow coat haunts me. I think it is so pretty. I ended up not getting her just because I thought about it over time and decided that I didn't really need her, but I think the yellow coat is a good example because like that's one of those pieces that just sticks in my mind. And then the last category for my personal rubric is uniqueness, just because for me personally, I do like to try to buy dolls that feel a little bit unique. I know that some people don't do that, and that is totally chill if that's how you enjoy your collection. Like some people buy a lot of duplicates and just redress them, and that's super. Like whatever makes you happy is what's important, right? But just for me, I feel like I think about the uniqueness a lot of dolls, and I tend to find myself drawn more so to dolls that are very different from other things that I own. So a score of 5 in the uniqueness category would be that the doll is either a new character or from a brand new brand. So like when the Pixlings came out, they got a 5, or they would have gotten a 5 if I was using this rubric because it was a new brand of dolls that I was excited for. A score of 4 in uniqueness would be that it's not a new brand or character, but an extremely unique design. First thing that comes to mind is like the Vampire Heart Draculaura. There's a ton of Draculaura dolls available, but I feel like that outfit was pretty unique. Like that's not something that you see on every single Draculaura, so I feel like that would be a fair ranking for her. Then a score of 3 in the uniqueness category would be that it's an old character with a moderately unique design. I feel like, not to harp on Draculaura here, but I think that a lot of her G3 dolls could fit into this category, where again, there's tons of Draculaura dolls already in Gen 3, even though it hasn't been around for that long. And I wouldn't say that her dolls tend to look exactly alike. Like, to me, they all feel decently unique, but it's not crazy standout, if that makes any sense. It's kind of just middle of the road in terms of uniqueness, and that's fine. That's not a bad thing, but that's just like where I would score that. A score of 2 in uniqueness would be that this is a character I feel strongly about, even if the design isn't super unique. So maybe it's just a character that I have a really big affinity for. The best example, honestly, right now is Spectra, because with her Haunt Couture doll that she got for the Midnight Runway collection, that design is extremely similar to what the prototypes that we've seen for her Gen 3 doll look like. And I do plan on buying the Gen 3 doll, even though I already have the Midnight Runway one. It's a character that means so much to me. Like, Spectra just means a lot to me, and I really love her designs when they're done well. And so even though the design isn't super unique, I would still give that doll, like the Gen 3 doll, 2 points, because even though it's close to the Haunt Couture one, I still feel really strongly about her. Then a score of 1 would be something that looks very similar to other releases or just other dolls in my collection. For example, the Reboot Sunny core doll. That's very similar to her original core doll, and I already have that one, and like I have those outfit pieces, so that would get a score of 1. And then a score of 0 on the uniqueness scale would be me buying a duplicate. Again, maybe for other people that wouldn't merit a 0, just because I know a lot of people do like to buy duplicates, especially people who buy in and out of box. Sometimes for like collector dolls, we'll buy 2 so they can have one in box and then one out of box. So for some people, that's not a bad thing. For some people, that honestly might be a good score, that they like a doll enough to want to buy a duplicate. But I don't have duplicates in my collection, I think, at all. Like, I'm looking around to check myself. but I don't think I own any duplicates because it's just not something that I really tend to do. So I feel like for me, that would be a score of 0. And that's the whole rubric. I feel like I've been talking a lot. I really hope this is entertaining for you guys because it's so interesting to me to think about the things that go through my mind when I'm considering buying a doll and to like have it laid out like this because I'm kind of a nerd. This is really cool for me. I hope it's really fun for you guys. But yeah, so if I were to fill this out, I'll do a couple examples here real quick. But then my total points would be out of 25 because, 0 to 5 in 5 categories. And for me personally, I'm putting the limit on myself as I try to use this and try to be mindful in my purchases that my score needs to be 15 points or higher to justify purchasing the doll at full price. I feel like if it's on clearance or on sale, something like that, I can get away with a little bit more wiggle room, and depending on the exact doll, depends on like the exact amount of wiggle room, but I feel like it's a pretty solid limit for myself to say that if a doll doesn't even score 15 points on this rubric, I don't need to be paying full price for it. So the reason I did like my silly goofy little laminating job here is so that I could use dry erase markers to literally use this. Like I'm not just doing this for fun. I'm going to try to use this and try to be really mindful with my purchases. Let me know if when I do reviews, you guys want me to fill this out for the dolls that I do reviews so you can like see what my thought process was. I feel like that could be an interesting way to like add to the review videos that I do, but if you hate that idea, let me know gently. Anyway though, so I'm going to fill this out a couple times to kind of give an example here of how I would use it. And I think the first doll I want to do is the new G3 Venus. I did pre-order her back in December, so like I've already purchased her, but I feel like that's just a good example to go off of as a doll that I know is going to score very highly on this rubric. So as far as the emotion, I'm going to go with 4. I don't think that I would cry over her, but I do think that she is absolutely amazing, and I was so eagerly awaiting her release. So 4 as that. The need to customize, she is perfect as is. I honestly don't feel the need to customize that doll at all. Like, I know I'm gonna love what she comes with and like how she looks, which is super to get to say. For me, I'm going to give her a 5 in quality as well. I try to avoid, I say this a lot, I try to avoid like full reviews and stuff of dolls that I know I'm going to be buying so that I can give you my honest and unbiased opinion on them. But I have heard that the hair is quite nice on her. For me, the clothing is like the level of quality that I am comfortable with, and they do have good articulation. So we are going to give Venus a score of 5 in the quality. Number of pieces I like, I can't remember all of her pieces off the top of my head. I'm actually going to go ahead and pull up her listing real quick on Amazon to try to really do this as accurately as I possibly can. This is kind of hard, and like I'm getting, used to doing this. This is my first time really going through it. So over time, I'm sure I will adjust to what I mean, because I don't think I outright dislike any of her pieces, but there are some that I care a lot less about, like specifically the little like granola bar maybe that she comes with. I don't really care about, and I'm not sure how I feel about the glasses yet. So just in an effort to be like a little harder on myself or on the doll here, I'm gonna go ahead and give her a 4 and say I like all but 1 to 2 small pieces, because like all of the major components I do think are amazing. And then uniqueness, this is gonna get a 5 as well, because I understand that like Venus existed in Gen 1 of Monster High, so she's technically not a new character, but this is a new character for Gen 3, and she's done in a very different way, and I feel like it's super, super awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and give her a 5, which means that I have 5, 10, 15, 19, 23. So the score is 23 out of 25, which means that I was justified in buying her full price. Yeehaw, glad that I didn't make a mistake there. And then I can just wipe this off and then dry it off. And then I can do another one. And I feel like this is like a really cool tool to be able to try to use to try to be mindful of what I'm purchasing. So I'm trying to think of a doll that I can do that I know I don't want to buy, so I can give you kind of an example of a lower ranking. Let's do one of the new Rainbow High dolls. Let's find Ruby. I feel like I don't outright hate Ruby from the new reboot, because like I could do Violet and I would just give her a really, really low score. But I feel like Ruby would be an interesting one to do because she's kind of middle of the road, so she might be a bit more on the cusp. And I think that would be more interesting as another try for like my rubric here. Sorry, I'm trying to find the stock photo. Alrighty, let's take a look here. So emotion, I definitely don't feel that much. I think I'm honestly going to give her a 1 for the emotion, just because I don't even feel like an average emotional response to her. I look at her and I feel a mix of excitement and disappointment, because there are some things that I think are cool and some things that I don't like. So I feel like 1, a slight emotional reaction is fair. The need to customize. I'm actually going to rank her decently high in that regard, because I do like the base doll. Like, I think her hair is cute, and I like some of her pieces. I'm just ignoring the pet for this category, because that doesn't really count for this category. I'm gonna go ahead and give her a 4, because I do think I would want to redress her a little bit. I really don't like how the top half of the outfit looks with the bottom half of the outfit, so I feel like I would want to redress her, but that's not like that much customization that needs to be done for me to like her. Then we have the quality. See, this is where it gets tough, because it's like, do I take off points for articulation because she's missing the wrist articulation? I think I'm going to, because I'm kind of a snob about that, I'm not gonna lie. But I'm assuming that Rainbow High hasn't changed the hair type really, except adding tinsel in a lot of these dolls, and even though I don't think that the clothing is going to be quite on par with what Rainbow High used to create, I don't think that it is like going to be disgusting, papery ickiness. So I'm gonna say 2 out of 3 is good quality, which would be a score of 4. Number of pieces I like. So I like the base doll, I like her skirt and her shoes, and I like the bag. So that's what? 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm using my little extra space here to do a little bit of a tally. But I don't like either of her shirts, and I don't like the little like tie around shirt around her, and I don't like the pet that she comes with. I'm gonna like loop the pet and the slime in the same one, because I feel like the pet is there to be filled with slime, like that's kind of all the same thing. So that would be a score of 2, because I like about half of the pieces that she comes with. And then uniqueness, not a new character and not a new brand, so definitely not that. She's honestly not that unique a design. Half of her design is the exact same as her original core doll, so I can't really give it to her with that, and I don't feel super strongly about. So I'm honestly going to give her a 1, because I have the original Ruby. Like, if you didn't have the original Ruby, that might be different, because it's not like you're buying something that you have a lot of similar pieces to, but I have the original Ruby. I have, you know, the clothing that she came with, so I feel like for me in my collection, this would be a very similar doll to one that I already have. So if I add that all up, I still need this. I'm so silly goofy. 1 and 4, so we've got 5, and then 9, and then 11, and 13. So that only gets a 13 out of 25, which means that personally, with the boundary that I'm like putting on myself, I could not justify buying her at full price. If I decided I really wanted the base doll to redress, like if I unbox Amaya, who I have, and I really enjoy her, maybe at some point I'd be like, you know what, I do like Ruby's skirt and her boots and her base doll. I'll buy her on sale to change the top. That is okay, like I can do that. But since she scored a 13 out of 25, I can't justify buying her at full price. And then we do the same rigmarole and we just erase it all and go again the next time. So yeah, I mean, even just doing those 2 little examples, I feel like that was a really interesting exercise, and like, it made me look at the things I was considering purchasing in a bit of a different light, and like really go logical with it instead of just like being impulsive about it. Obviously I'm doing a no-buy month, so it's not like I could buy, say, the Ruby doll anyway right now, but I do think this is a really interesting idea and kind of a fun tool that I've created for myself to try to be more mindful and more careful about my doll purchases. I kind of think this is really cool. Maybe again, that's just because I'm a nerd, but I think this is really, really solid. So if you agree, like I said, I will have it in a Google Doc so you guys can use it or edit it as you feel like you need to. Like maybe for you, price needs to be on there. For me personally, price is like a barrier to me, to the point where if a doll is a doll that I like but the price is wrong, it doesn't matter how much I love it, I won't buy it. Like the Off-White Monster High dolls, there are 2 of them that I really do like, but I just cannot justify the $150 price point, so it doesn't matter what they would score on here, I won't be buying them. So for me, I didn't feel like price was like a category that I needed to put on there, but maybe for you it would be important. So maybe you're not really a customizer and you want to replace the need to customize category with a price category. Or, you know, maybe you really want to think about your environmental impact, which obviously I am in support of. Maybe you want to put like a packaging category on there for whether you think you'd keep the packaging and display it so it's worthwhile, or whether you think you could repurpose it, or whether it's just like a complete waste. There's a lot of different things you could do with a rubric based upon your personal, like, most important traits, I guess you would say, when buying a doll. And I honestly think this is kind of a cool tool. So big thank you to the person who suggested that I do this. It was a really fun exercise for me, and I think it is going to be helpful to me in the future. Definitely let me know what you think of the idea, if you think this is something that you could do, or if you think this is like way too much work. And yeah, as I said before, definitely let me know if you want me to fill this out for my reviews when I get them. Because I think that would be an interesting way to kind of record my thoughts on a doll before I buy them, and then after I unbox them, see how that has shifted. It could be kind of fun, or maybe it would be really boring and I'm just being nerdy, so let me know. But yeah, that was the video for today, guys. I hope you were able to enjoy and hopefully get something out of it. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day or your night or whatever it might be, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye, guys.